And we're back with the show. This is Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source. It's week 4 in the NFL. Fantasy football owners are just scrambling for what they can do at this point in time of the season. If you're already a leg behind, let's put it that way, in your league, or even those who are looking to scan the waiver wire or just trying to see if they can go ahead and even get better with some trades. And who better to break week 4 down with me for fantasy owners, if I can say that correctly with a lisp, for fantasy owners, then my good friend, he is Tyler Baker from the Fantasy Football Paydirt Podcast. How's it going, my friend?
It's great to talk to you as always, my friend.
All right. Always great indeed to have you on the show. And again, we've got a lot of great matchups in the NFL to look forward to. But for fantasy owners, what should they be keying on? What should they be keying on first when it comes to all the action going on in the NFL this weekend?
Well, there are some teams that are banged up, and of course, Friday's injury report will tell us much more about that. But right now, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are missing quite a few starters on defense. They have the 0-3 New York Giants. Now, the Giants have always been kind of the beat the odds team, and they still have some really good talent. And if the Giants can put it all together, they can be very dangerous. This could be the game where the Giants look like the New York Giants, the New York Football Giants, against a Tampa Bay defense that is pretty banged up. So that's going to be an interesting game to watch. There's quite a few of them. Remember last week when Jacksonville and Baltimore went to London, and it was a really weird game. Well, this week we have Miami and New Orleans going to London, and that should be very interesting. The New Orleans Saints are 1-2. They are desperate for a win, and Miami is really licking its wounds after a pretty bad defeat last week.
And so, I have Jay Ajayi. Is he still good to have on the roster at this point in time as far as starting for you and playing a running back or a flex?
Sure. Now, last week, he did not put up numbers at all, but he's had an entire week of rest. He practiced in full today, and when a guy like him with an injury like that practices in full, that's a really good sign. So I think you can run him out there. And against that New Orleans defense, man, I think I could get 100 yards against that New Orleans defense.
Maybe I could too, but I probably need your help trying to drag me along. But
I'll be your fullback.
There you go. There you go. Lead. Give me that lead blocker.
I got you, buddy. I got you.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I want to ask real quick before we go ahead and break down everything else. There's a couple of wide receivers that are out there that one has found early season success until last week, and one found no early season success until last week. That means J.J. Nelson and also as well Sammy Watkins. They seem to have like a kind of a differentiating fortunes there, one going in one direction and the other one going in another. If you had to choose, like I do, what player would you target? And what player do you think might be sitting on a bench this weekend? Because both are listed as questionable at this point in time.
Well, totally different situations. J.J. Nelson has been with that team for a couple of years. Sammy Watkins just got to Los Angeles. And what you saw last week is you saw a little bit of a connection happening there. Now with J.J. Nelson, he, in my opinion, is a relevant fantasy factor when John Brown is not playing. And even when John Brown is not playing, Jaron Brown actually gets a larger target share than J.J. Nelson does. But they are all both far behind Larry Fitzgerald. Larry Fitzgerald is the guy. Now, with John Brown practicing this week, he's only practicing in a limited fashion, and he has a sickle cell trait, so his body doesn't repair normally. So it might be throughout the season that John Brown will play a game, a couple of weeks, but when he's in, he has J.J. Nelson's speed, but with much better ability to track the football and much better ability to make tough catches. Now with Sammy Watkins this week, you just saw a nice little bit of chemistry last week, and they are going to take that momentum and they are going to go into Dallas. Now, Dallas's secondary is really banged up. They've got a rookie starting on one side, and I don't know if Scantrick's going to play this week or not. I think he made it halfway through the game last week, but that wasn't good to begin with. Second string players playing in it. So if there's one secondary this week that I want to pick on, it's Dallas's. So if I had to choose between J.J. Nelson and Sammy Watkins, it would be Sammy Watkins, and I don't think it would be close. And that's not just chasing last week's stat line. That's seeing some chemistry finally developing, and going against that secondary, I would definitely play Sammy Watkins over J.J. Nelson.
That's some great advice indeed. Once again, that's Tyler Baker from the Fantasy Football Paydirt Podcast. You can get it every Tuesday and Saturday, available now on Apple Podcasts and also as well Libsyn, Overcast.fm, and Player.fm. And you've also got a major announcement to tell everybody out there about a brand new site, which you finally got up and running, which has a lot of great info coming very soon.
Oh, I'm so excited. So my buddies at Robel Technologies, they helped me get the website together. And now ffpaydirt.com is a thing. It's a real thing. You can go to it, and I will be posting articles. Now, right now it's a little bare. I have relevant articles, and those are just going to build. I try not to get super wordy with it. And even my podcasts have gotten a little long in the recent podcasts. I'm going to trim that down because I realize people just don't have a lot of time. So, my articles are usually straight to the point. If I have something kind of wordy, I'll do that too when I have time. But the articles are basically going to consist of strategies for the week and waiver articles and injury articles. So those will be up. This week's part of the strategies that I had for this week was, one, start looking at your bye weeks because they're going to be coming up pretty soon, and start making moves that you might need to compensate for that. And also, I had a sell high, buy low sheet. And one of the guys that I wanted you to sell high on was Ty Montgomery, because I could see in the game film that Ty Montgomery was starting to break down. He would take a hit and his teammates would have to pull him a little, kind of pull him up off the ground. And you could just see the physical demeanor of him getting too much usage. Well, tonight he had a rim injury. He's probably going to be out for a couple of weeks. Now, I certainly didn't see that happening, but you could see a gradual breakdown. And that's where I have an advantage over maybe some of the other football analysts, that I watch every single game. And if you're just looking at the stat lines, you're going to miss something. But if you're watching every game, or if you got a guy like me who can watch every game, you can get some really relevant information to help you better manage your football team, your fantasy football team.
Oh, that's awesome indeed. Any last thoughts on where to go, who to get, or who to look out for this week's games, week 4 in the NFL?
Well, it looks like Matt Forte is hurt, and Bilal Pell is going to be a guy, but there's a guy behind him named Elijah McGuire. And it'll be interesting to see. That's who I'm going to be watching in this Jets-Jaguars game. The Jaguars have a really tough defense, and I'm going to be keeping an eye on him, on Elijah McGuire. There's a couple other guys that, Darren Sproles went out in Philadelphia. He's gone for the season, maybe even his career, and what a loss. Love watching that guy play. And so Wendell Smallwood's going to be inheriting that role, but there's also another guy behind him, Clement, that I'm going to be watching just to see what he does, because he had a little bit of a spark last week too. So there's some guys out there. Oh, and in Indianapolis, they're finally getting their starting center, Ryan Kelly back. That is the kind of the first piece
from USC. That's why I know.
Okay, sure. Well, he is really good. He was the actual linchpin of that offensive line. So Andrew Luck did not play this week, or didn't practice this week. So it might not be week 7 till he comes back, but you start seeing the pieces getting into place. Jacoby Brissett is actually looking like a good enough quarterback that maybe they can win some more games. They're only 1-2, so the Indianapolis Colts are not completely out of it. I've been telling people to buy low on Indianapolis Colts. They're just about free right now, and they're getting ready to go play Seattle. So after they play Seattle and after they get crushed by Seattle, maybe see if the T.Y. Hilton owner wants to give them up on the cheap, or maybe even Dante Moncrief, if you're not going to run into any bye week problems. So there's little strategies that you can do, kind of looking at the games ahead, and to make your fantasy football team a little bit better.
Well, that's awesome. And I'll tell you what, I love the correlation also as well in your Fantasy Football Paydirt Podcast Facebook group, because you never know who's going to post that's part of the group, who's going to post their questions as far as for lineups, as far as for trades, as far as for waiver pickups. In fact, I actually asked you this week on a starting lineup, if you want to check that out, Fantasy Football Paydirt Podcast on Facebook. And I'll tell you what, I got a great answer from you on it as far as during our show today. But you also made the comment, wow, that's a great team. Well, your draft kit actually helped me pick that team. So all props go to you, my friend. So that's why I'm 3-0 to start off with, and I'm hoping for some good returns this weekend.
Sure, 3-0. That is really good. Not too many guys are 3-0 right now. So yeah, the draft kit, some of the projections that I made in it were right on. I missed a couple. You can expect that, but no, I'm very proud of it. And what I'm more proud of is seeing someone like you use it and finding success. That's what it's all about.
Well, that's what I did. I said, I'm putting Tyler Baker's knowledge to the test, and so far it's paying off indeed. Now, if I don't, lose 7 in a row, we'll keep that kind of quiet.
Okay. I've seen your team because you posted on the Facebook group. You're doing okay.
Okay.
You're doing just fine. Although you don't need 3 quarterbacks. You could probably get rid of one of those and maybe get another running back. You seem a little light on running back.
Well, the only reason why I was saying I was using it for leverage in case somebody was interested in a trade. I was going to, ooh, yes. Hopefully come my way. Yes. Come my way if you want Tyrod Taylor. Anyways, well, just trying to play hard.
Well, if anybody wants some help with their team, the Facebook group is the way to do it, because I'm on it. I have some really, really brilliant guys. My friends Matt and Jared, they're both on it too. They answer questions. And then there's a lot of guys that I play in fantasy leagues with. And let me tell you, I play in some tough fantasy leagues. There are no fish in my fantasy leagues that I play in. They're all sharks. And a lot of those guys are on there too. And I see a lot of those guys giving really good tips out to people too. So if you want help with your specific team, because it's hard to do a podcast and speak to everyone, you just can't do it. It's hard to write an article and speak to everyone's team in everyone's situation. You just can't do it. So the Facebook group is a really good way. And you can also get on the website, ffpaydirt.com, and you can send me an email.
That's awesome indeed. Check that out again, ffpaydirt.com, Fantasy Football Paydirt Podcast group on Facebook, and of course, the Fantasy Football Paydirt Podcast, now available every Tuesday and Saturday, but you can listen to it anytime on Apple Podcasts, Libsyn, Overcast.fm, and Player.fm. Tyler, it's been great talking to you again as we preview Week 4 in the NFL, and hope you'll be back Sunday as we recap a great weekend in the NFL.
I really can't wait. And it's already Week 4. It's like a quarter of the way through. How did this happen?
It goes by all too fast for football. It
really
fans.
does. But it's so great sharing this season with you. I'm so excited to be on your program. Thank you very much for having me.
As always, it's a great pleasure having you on and being part of the PCC multiverse.